So we're going to work through progressions to our face down back bend, bow pose, which is a really similar shape to camel, and even wheel pose with slightly different shoulder position. So we're going to task, good morning, Joan. We're going to task the spinal muscles, of course, and not just an extension. So all of our spinal movements would contribute to that global back bend. So we're going to do a little twisting. We're going to do some side bending just to create space in and around the thoracic spine. Because in a pose like bow, a lot of times what happens is our lower back just by default will take the most, I don't want to say the force, but the load, just because the way it's built, it's more accessible there. So if we really prime the hips for extension and we really prime the upper back for extension, then hopefully once we get into that global pose, we're going to have better force distribution all along the path of the spine. And I think it makes sense today to start with our engine, which would be our glutes. So we're going to begin on our back, which is pretty common for my classes, I think. So hopefully it's getting more comfortable for you to start there. And you feel at ease. And we're just going to breathe for a little bit. And I have my sliding door open and it's almost chilly in here. It feels nice. Because we're probably going to work up a little sweat. So once you get situated, let's bend the knees, set our feet on the ground, walk your shoulders down, your back a little bit, and think of that 360-degree style of breathing where we can sense some expansion into the sides of the rib cage, into the sides of the waist, a wider breath. And also here especially we are observing into the back rib cage. Almost like you could breathe into the floor more noticeably. Put a light seal on your lips. Just let your tongue lay softly in the roof of your mouth. And then breathe through your nose. Start to turn your head just a few degrees to the right and to the left. So don't go for all the way, at least to start. Nervous system generally responds to progressive body positioning. So it can feel a little bit more secure and safe once we get to that end range. One more pass each direction. Moving on to our pelvic rocking. Pelvis is going to stay grounded, but we are going to tuck and untuck, which is going to impact the position of your lumbar spine. It's going to go with the pelvis, but can you set the rib cage down? Maybe even take your hands to your ribs so you're not moving there much at all. Trying to uncouple these two segments of the spine from one another. And this doesn't have to be a really large movement. It might be really subtle for you. And if I were watching you, I might not even be able to see much happening there. But as long as you can feel it, then you know you're doing it right. Excuse me, I have a little rattle in my throat. I haven't been talking enough yet this morning. Okay, so let's find the position of the posterior tuck. That's the one where you feel like you're kind of tucking under and your tailbone's curling up off the ground. And from there, just notice if you sense your hip creases opening slightly. Maybe even take your index finger right to your hip crease where your pants wrinkle up when you sit down. And then tilt your pelvis forward again and notice that that spot starts to close a little bit again. Rock back to the posterior tuck, set your arms by your side. Press your feet down firmly. Find a sense of your heels trying to pull towards your seat until you can feel your hamstrings fire up. And then you're going to peel your spine off the ground just like we do every time we practice bridge pose in spine segmentation. Working on keeping the neck muscles at ease as well as the shoulders. And then once you get to that bridge pose, let's test something. Let's see if we could keep the ball of our foot down and raise up the heels like that little Barbie foot, like you've got a high-heeled shoe on. And then keep scooping and tucking under with your bum. Give your glutes a little squeeze. Set your heels down. And then pull your toes off of your mat so that only the heels are grounded. Lower the toes, raise the heels. And keep switching back and forth, moving the ankles. Sensing a stretch there, maybe on the front side when the heels come up, and a stretch on the back side as the ball of your foot raises. 2 more times. So you're starting to feel a little bit of fatigue in the bum, and maybe a little bit in the ankles, calves. And then just set your feet naturally on your mat. You might feel like your feet got a little bit away from you. That's good. That just challenges our hamstrings in a different way. So now we'll come from the top of the spine and lay each segment down independently from the last. I always like to think of that analogy of the chain on a bicycle, laying down each piece of that chain, recognizing that each one of those is a joint with several joints within it. Oh, my glutes are a little sore from what I did yesterday, so this is going to be intense. Okay, once you get down, take your feet a little wider and just kind of free up the legs to move and wag side to side. Less structure here, just a little bit more freedom to move. Okay, we're going to do one more version of bridge pose. So for this one, we're going to start with the feet closer, which might cause your pelvis to tilt forward a little bit. So re-tuck it under, heels a little closer to your bum, come up off the ground slowly. And then you're going to find maybe a little bit more height on this one, just because of the position of your feet. It might be possible for the hips to go up higher. But think of your pelvis moving away from your ribs and your ribs just relaxing down into your core. And then we're going to start to work outward with the heels, and it's going to go step, step, and then pull. So what I mean by that is you're going to step one foot forward a little bit and the other foot forward, and then you're going to think of dragging or pulling your heels towards your body. I'm lifting the ball of my foot up. That's just better for me, so you can try it that way and see what you think. And then a little step, step, pull. Step, step, pull. You might notice your hips are getting a little lower. It's fine. Just keep tucking under. Keep scooping. Let's try to do one more step, step, pull. And then lower down. Let's go right leg up into the air. Left leg can just do whatever. And you're just going to open and close the knee. Just a typical hamstring curl. And switch sides. And then we're going to just flip over onto our stomachs and do a little work with the hip again and a little work with the shoulders. So let's start with shoulders. Arms will be by your side to start. And you're just gonna float your head right off the ground so that your neck feels pretty neutral. So if I were to drop my head to the ground, my neck would be in a little bit of flexion. But if I lift my face forward, now my neck's an extension. So you're just gonna try to find a position where your head feels like it's an extension of your spine. And then tuck your pelvis under slightly so you can feel that your low back is a little bit longer. Thumb side of the hand towards your yoga mat. Take your arms slightly wider than the shoulders. So your palms are facing towards your body. And then we're just going to do a single arm raise with a straight arm, just up and back. And then lower slow and lift the right arm. Now the chest might want to come with, so I want you to try to keep your chest heavy and focus all of your attention on that shoulder extension and alternate. Left and right. As you lift the arm, notice if the scapula wants to go with and kind of hike up by your ear, and see if you can keep your shoulders tucked down towards your back pockets as you do this. Let's do 2 more sets. Right and left. And right and left. Keep your chest down. Raise both arms up in the air for 10, 9, 8, 7. Shoulders down. Shrug your shoulders towards each other so you're getting that little bit of retraction. Last 4. Keep tucking the buns under. 3, 2, and then rest the arms, turn your head to one side, and just take it easy for a second. And then for the next bit, you can just kind of organize your arms however you want. I'm going to take mine out in front of me, just because I don't want my mic to rub on the floor, and the one that's in my shirt. So we're going to go hip extension here. And we're going to add in hamstring curling. So it's going to be a 2-part movement. The first is to squeeze behind the knee, flex the knee. And then you're going to try to lift that left thigh bone off the ground without changing the position of your pelvis. So you're not actually coming into a back bend here with the lumbar. And that's a really hard thing to do. And then go straight with the leg, point your toe, and set your whole leg down. Right leg, knee bending, nice and strong there. And then try to lift your thigh, that's coming from your glutes, of course. And then straighten your leg out behind you. Bend it again. Lower it down and straighten it. Left knee, bend it. Lift your leg, straighten your leg, bend it again, and then set it down. That's it. Move at your own pace, right and left. Juicing an orange behind your knee as you close it. And with the spine, at this point, you're almost trying to simulate making cat pose. So you're almost trying to create the reverse position than you would in a back bend. Well, it's probably only going to happen in your mind because the floor is right there. So it's an effort, not necessarily a position. Let's do one more in each leg. And then press your hands down beside your chest just like you do for a push-up. Tuck your toes under. Go back to a tabletop and then to a child's pose. And here we can just let the spine round a little bit. Maybe you come to the forearms, or you can stretch all the way out in your trunk. Arms could also go behind you. Okay, we're going to do a little combo here that I like to work on conscious hip extension and a little shoulder mobility. So right leg's going to come forward. Left knee is going to stay under the hip, so we're in that half kneeling position. And you might just test the pelvis moving a little bit, seeing once again if we can tuck it and untuck it without shifting the rib cage around. And then go for the tuck under. Right hand is going to stay grounded somehow, so it can just be beside you, or you can take it on your right leg. And the left arm is going to get our shoulder car. You've all done this with me enough to know the cues, so I'm not going to go through them, but one thing to remember is that when you're reaching your arm backwards, it's an internal rotation. And when you're reaching your arm overhead, it's an external rotation. Let's do 2 more really strong, adding extra resistance in both the leg scissors, the left glutes, and around the shoulder capsule. I think we should do 1 more. I'm going a little faster than I normally do, so I think I can do more reps. And then just take your left hand to the floor, right beside your foot there. Tuck your back toes under and lift your back leg into a regular runner's lunge, but think of dragging your legs towards each other, and then twist your spine open to the right side of the room. Back knee's going to come back down. You can untuck your toes, bring your trunk upright, and keep that twist. Both hands to the inside of your right foot here. And then let's go backwards a little bit with the left knee. Feel free to double pat it if it needs it. And then you're going to work on a hamstring curl with just this back leg. It can be a short range of motion, more like a pulse if you want to, or you can go all the way open and all the way closed. Either one's good. Imagine you have a rubber band attached to your ankle and an object, and you're using that band to create extra tension in the curling phase of this movement. So add your own resistance. And then let's step the right foot and the left foot together at the top of the mat. Forward fold. Here we're just letting gravity do the work for us. Just hang. You can bend your knees a little bit more. Drive from your pelvis here. So you're finding that tuck under, the posterior tuck, shortening the space on the front side of your core, and then letting your pelvis stack your spine 1 vertebra at a time through a roll up. The segmentation again. Kind of like how we did on the bridge, but now coming up to standing, stacking the spine vertically. And then we're going to do our spine rotations standing. So we're going to need a really solid base. I like my feet a little wider, but some of you might like to even take the legs together and squeeze in. So decide what feels better for you. Either way, you're going to get your back glutes firing, and also thinking of squeezing your inner thighs together as you press into the ground intentionally. And then we're going to go crisscross with the arms. Just lay them over your chest and give yourself a little hug. You can hold your upper arms or shoulders. We're going to flex forward like we're doing cat pose, but don't let your pelvis move. And then twist yourself a little to the right. And then side bend to the right. And then curl behind you. Side bend to the left. A little upper body twist left. Flex to the front. 1 more in that direction. Stay flexed to the front, but add rotation to the right. Side bend right. Lay over that big beach ball behind you. Side bend left. Twist left. Flex to the front. Now we'll go the other way. You're going to twist left first. So think of pulling your right hip back as you turn your spine a little bit to the left. Side bend left. Curl back. Side bend right. Twist a little bit right as you flex your spine forward like cat pose. Go again, twist over left, side bend left, back bend. Side bend right, twist right, flex forward, and then neutralize. Let your arms relax, breathe. Raise your arms over your head, breathe in, and then take it down into that forward fold, breathe out. Step back to tabletop. Articulating the cat and the cow. Pelvis tips forward first as the tailbone rises up towards the ceiling. Belly wall gets a little closer to the ground as we start to travel that wave of extension up the back. And then the head can look forward eventually. Pause in this cow pose for a few breaths. And notice that if you intentionally shorten the back side of the spine, then the front side might receive just a little bit more of a stretch. Rather than just letting the belly hang and letting gravity do the work, let's consciously create the shape. Now start to drop the tailbone towards your heels. Tuck under as much as you can in the pelvis before you let anything else move. A wave of flexion now passing up the back. And then finally the head drops. One more time like that. You don't have to go as slow, but still keep it pretty patient. So if you could move each piece of your spine independently from the one that comes before and after it. Last one. Tuck. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Then create the dome. And then neutralize your spine. We're going to head into that second hip series in just a second, but let's add in a little shoulder blade awareness. Arms straight, scapula retract, and protract. A few more. The temptation here is to not bend at the elbows, or to bend at the elbows rather. You're going to try to resist that urge and instead keep your elbows straight. Task your scapulas to move on your ribs, pulling wide and pulling together. Okay, next up, left leg's going to step forward to that half kneeling. Right thigh is going to be vertical. Pelvis awareness first. Tuck, untuck. And then set it to the posterior tuck so you can feel your right buns contract. 4 shoulder cars. Moving through heavy air. Internal to go back. And then as you go overhead, it's external. Last 2. Okay, once you finish that, hands to the ground, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, runner's lunge. Right hand's going to stay on your block or on your mat. Lengthen your spine as you twist chest open to the left. Back leg really straight, connecting to the glutes there again. And then come on down with the left hand. I like mine inside my foot, so you might need to move your left foot away from you a little bit. And then we're going for those hamstring curls on the right leg. Small range pulse to keep it flexed, or you can open and close all the way. With this knee, I am more comfortable keeping my knee flexed. For some reason, when I straighten this leg, my kneecap clunks and it's kind of uncomfortable. This is the knee I fell on during my yoga retreat, and it's just still a little bit tender. So it's a good reminder that our body is not symmetrical, and sometimes we need a different recipe on the opposite side. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and step forward again. We're coming to a forward fold to begin. And then we're going to roll up slowly, starting from the pelvis, letting that lead us up into that segmented flexion. And then once we get to vertical, let's try to think about aligning the back of the skull, the back of the rib cage, and the back of the sacrum, and maybe even the heels in a line. So we're going to stay pretty robotically straight in that orientation. With your palms facing in towards your body, try to find your maximal shoulder extension behind you without changing the position of anything else in your body. So it's just reaching back with the arms, getting them as high as they can go, and then also try to keep your shoulders from shrugging. So there's a tendency when we go into that extension where we hike the shoulders or we maybe pitch forward in the trunk. So if that's happening to you, just take the arms a little lower. We're going to find our end range and we're going to hold it for 10. Firm legs. 6. 3. Now we're going to take a little tiny lift pulse for 10. Up and down about an inch or so. 6. Till your triceps feel fiery. Great job. Let it go. Feet a little wider. We're going to take a little bit of a fun version of an arm swing, and the legs are going to help. You're going to use the ground for this. So right arm and left arm are just splitting as the knees kind of push against the floor, bending and straightening. Just let your arms fly like an air sock. You can start letting the spine twist. So when the left arm goes forward, your body's going to turn a little to the right, but just at the trunk. So keep the hips facing forward and just let it be more of that upper T rotation. Just a few more. And then calm things down. Find your mountain pose. Set your feet hip width. And we're going to work on balance for a second. Not because we're doing a balancing pose, but because that'll give us a little more access to our stability muscles in hip extension. So be standing on your right leg. Try to keep your knees fairly close to each other. What I mean by that is when you bend your knee, it might want to pitch forward. So when you bend your knee, try to keep your knees in about that same line. And if you want a chair for balance here, it's totally cool. And then try to get your heel as close to your bum as you can, but tuck the pelvis under. And then we're going back to that arms reaching back for 10. A little more squeeze behind the knee and then pull the thigh bone back in space. Good, set it down, take a little rest. And then stand on your left leg. Keep your thighs in the same line. Bend your right knee, squeeze behind there. Take your arms behind you for 10. Try to put your right footprint on the wall behind you for 5. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to try a new movement today. And this is something that I worked on the other day for the first time. I actually took a video of it and posted it on Instagram. We're not going to go as far as what I did in that video if you decide to watch it, but we're going to test it. We're going to test our capacity here, starting with the ankles, the knees, then the hips, and then we're working into the spine a little bit. So it looks like this. The heels lift, the knees move forward, the hips extend, and the body tips back. And then you're just going to stand up again. And that's the movement for a few rounds. Knees forward, heels up, Trunk and pelvis stay pretty much one unit. And then if that's going really well for you and you're feeling pretty confident with this movement, you're going to add in arms to a T, core twist, neutralize, find that lean back, core twist the other direction. Let's try for a couple more. One more on each side. Okay, when you finish with that last one, you're going forward fold again. On this one, if you decide to, you could flex down instead of hinge down. So you're moving through that spinal flexion segmentation. Pelvis is the very last thing to move in this version of it. Plant your palms. Step back. Tabletop, and then right knee is going to land over the ankle in this tall kneeling position, splitting the legs to 90-90, arms to a T. This is a movement you're very familiar with. As far as what the back leg is doing, the toes can be flat on the ground or they could be tucked under. Just a little bit of a different experience. You're going to side bend. Move the spine first, then go ahead and reach the arms. Once your left arm gets overhead, we're going to take the right arm back behind us. And then bring your trunk to vertical, arms to a T. Rotate your chest this time. Ribs rolling to the right without moving the arms too much. And now a micro back bend. Keep tucking the buns under to lengthen your lumbar. Breathe. Left hand down, left toes tuck, lift your back knee, twisting that runner's lunge. Left knee down, left knee behind the hip this version, hamstring curls. Now your right arm can stay where it is, or you can find internal rotation and extension with the right arm. You're not going for the foot though, you're just trying to get it as high as it'll go. Last 3, 2, and 1. Downward dog. Haven't done one today. That might feel good. Let your lats stretch. Side ribs telescoping away from the pelvis, but keeping that front rib integration. Knees down. Right foot forward. Left foot forward. Half kneeling. Arms to the T. Side bend to the left with your core first, and then let your arms continue to move to lead you into the shape. Right arm's still going to reach overhead towards the left, but now the left arm is going to reach back. Scoop the buns under. Feel that right glute fire, especially. And then neutralize. Arms to the T, straight spine. Little leg scissors for stability. That isometric engagement of the legs. Keep lengthening through the lumbar, curling the tail towards the back side of your right knee, and twist it left, twisting left. Just the ribs. Don't worry about the arms, they're going along for the ride. Keep what you have in terms of rotation and leg energy, and then add that slight diagonal curl back of the spine. Rise up. Right hand down, right toes tuck, right knee lifts, runner's twist. You can keep your arm the way it is, or reach it back into internal rotation. Thumb side of the hand is down, palm facing inward. Now, right knee down. You're going for the hamstring curls. Small range or full range, either one's good. Release back down, downward dog, pike your hips. Think of stretching some space in your spine column. Hips and shoulders pulling your spine in opposite directions for a little traction. And then we're going plank. Here, we're trying to create the effort of pull. So even though you're pushing into the ground, you're also trying to drag your hands backwards. As you bend your elbows, you're going to pull that plank flat to the floor. Untuck your toes, press your feet to the ground. Rock the pelvis under. High five the back wall. Arms nice and straight. Let's just go palms facing inward rather than extending. Okay, so chest is heavy. Arms reach up as high as they'll go. Shoulders down and back. Now pull just the chest up. Keep the arms high. Lower the chest. Keep your chest low. Try to lift both legs straight off the ground. Squeeze the buns. Lower the legs. Arms are up. Lift the chest. Lower the chest. Arms stay up. Lift both legs. Lower the legs. We got one more. Arms stay up. Chest curls. Lower down. Lift both legs. Bend both knees. Keep your forehead low. Legs high. Knees bent. Heels trying to pull to your tush. Lift your arms 1 more inch. Lay everything down. Press back. Child's pose. Downward dog. Walk your feet forward. You can come up to standing, however you prefer it. Reach your right arm forward and your left arm backwards. So both palms are facing in towards the body line. Bend your left knee, pull it towards your tush. Start to kick that left leg back as you tip your body forward. Even if you could hold your ankle today, I want you just to reach with your arm and pull with your heel and not touch. Try to get your body to where it feels like it's about like Warrior 3 or so. One more breath, left arm a little higher. And then pull to standing from the back of your right hip. Reset, Tadasana. Left arm forward, right arm back. Spine stays set and neutral for now. Bend your right knee, squeeze. Try to keep your knees in about the same line for a moment. But then as you start to tip into that hip hinge, you're going to maintain the hip extension on the right leg like you're putting your footprint on the sky. Right arm a little higher, spine a little straighter, breathing. Back of the left hip pulls you up. We're going to do one more round a little bit differently. This time I want you to think of a Warrior 3 shape, but instead of having the back neutral and tabletop, we're going to create a global back bend with the arms flying behind us, and we are still going to bend the leg that's floating. So this front leg could be bent or straight, doesn't matter. Start with your left toes kickstanded behind you. Take your arms behind you. And then let's think of not just shifting the ribs forward, but curling the spine back. Keep that, and then start to tip forward, like you're diving. Bend your left knee, pull your heel in towards your buns. Keep curling your chest up. Arms higher for 5, 4, shorten up the backside. 3, 2, slowly stand up. Take it a little shake out. Ooh, my right ankle got tired there. Okay. Mountain. Right toes kickstand. Arms back, palms in. Roll the shoulders down and back. Create your back bend, curling. Now you're going to stamp down on the left foot as you hinge your left hip. Once that right leg flies, bend it, lift it higher, curl the chest forward and upward, raise your arms back behind you for 5. And slowly stand. Take your arms overhead. Maybe one solid inhale here. And then forward fold. Plant your palms, find your plank. Effort of pulling, hands to toes to hands. Bend your elbows, plank to the floor in one piece. Roll your shoulders down and back, chest low, pelvis tucked. Arms are going to reach back. Raise your arms as high as they'll go. Bend your knees as tight as they'll go. Lift your thighs as high as they'll go. Now curl the chest up. First bow, we're going to keep it open. Chest a little higher. Heels a little closer, legs a little higher. And then set it down. Just relax. All the way to the belly. Breathing. Your right arm is going to kickstand in front of you on this one. So there's just a little rise to the chest initially. Left arm behind, palm facing inward. Bend your left knee. And then kick your left leg off the ground and hold on to the outside edge of your foot or ankle. And then you're going to re-kick the left leg up and let your chest come off the floor. Right arm is going to go back as well. But you're going to keep the right arm and the right leg free. Lift the right leg off the ground, but keep it straight. Chest high. 3, 2, slowly lower, release. Left arm comes out front. Kickstand it. Left leg straight. Right arm extends back behind you. Bend your right knee. Lift the right leg. Curl the chest off the floor. Hold your foot or ankle. And then re-kick the leg. Lift your heart. Lift the left leg. Left arm's going to go back as well. Breathe. Take it easy. Press back, child's pose. Nearly there. Tabletop. Arch your back like the cat, especially stretching the low back by tucking your pelvis down under and pushing your shoulder blades wide on your back. Neutralize your spine. Come up onto your shins. So this next little bit is not about range of motion. It's about stability here through the low core. So you're going to find the tuck, hands behind the head, press down through your shins, twist open to the left. Now lean back from the knees. Try to keep your body in a straight line. 5, 4, keep twisting. 3, 2, come on up. Forward face. And then we're going twist right. As you twist that upper body right, pull your left hip back so it doesn't go with, and then hinge at the knees only. Try not to change anything else. 5, Back to cat pose. Really puff it up. Use your arms. High plank. Tuck toes, power the legs. Pull plank down. Untuck your toes. Pelvis rocks under. Arms fly back. Palms facing inward. Neck long. Now you're going to curl your chest first this time. So lifting. High as you'll go. Bend your knees. Lift your thighs. If your feet are close, you may grab them. Keep the work in the back. You can kick higher if you want to. Rolling back towards your thighs. Rolling the heart forward. Two more breaths. And then let it go slow. We've got another child's pose. Child's pose option. Bend your elbows. Create prayer hands behind your head. I like that nice stretch for my triceps. Okay, let's make our way to our seat. Legs forward, and then we're going to go butterfly legs. You could make it more like a diamond with your feet a long ways away from your body, which would be more like a yin pose. So it's a softer position, and you can just let your spine slightly round over the legs, especially that upper back. But if you like a little bit more hip action, the feet would pull slightly closer to your groins, and you would actively open the legs as you hinge your spine forward. I'm going to choose the yin version. All right, we're going to try a different transition to the floor today, and this is one I'm still really working on, so it might be a little clumsy for me. Right leg is going to be extended to the ground. You're going to hold on to the back of your left thigh with your hands interlaced, and then the left leg is going to try to go straight, almost like you're creating a boat pose. And then you're going to keep that left leg just like it is, but try to articulate down to your mat so that you wind up in a hamstring stretch. And the right leg might have to lift off the ground a little bit, and that's fine. Eventually, I just have to let it go and lay down. And then we're here for a little bit. Option to take your left leg off to the side. So if you could get your big toe, that's one option, but you can also just support yourself in any way. Open out the thigh. Right leg is still standing firmly like it was. And then we could take that left leg up and over into a twist. Any old twist that you like. I'm doing figure 4 legs. Bring yourself back to the neutral. Tuck your body into a cannonball. Rock and roll your way up. Left leg extends. You're holding the right leg now. And then you're going to try to articulate as best that you can. At some point, there has to be a little surrender and you just roll down. Hamstring stretch the right side. Optional big toe hold. Leg off to the right. Trying to keep the pelvis pretty balanced here. Luckily my wall is right here and I can just set my foot on the wall. Right leg up and over for some version of a twist. And then spin yourself back to neutral spine. Pull your right leg in. Left leg's gonna kick. And maybe float. And switch out left for right. And then both legs are going to tuck in and a little bit wider, so as if you're trying to draw your thighs towards the outer border of your ribs. You can keep your hands on the front of your shins or knees, or you can make happy baby from here. Just try not to jam yourself into anything here in the hips and the low back. Just let it be soft. Maybe a little massaging rock side to side. And then we're going to take a little rest. You choose the position. You could take seated meditation, a butterfly pose supported by blocks, legs up the wall, or regular shavasana. Tuck your shoulders under you. Let your breath return to an organic flow. No effort in your body. And keep everything else nice and steady and still, but move your breath a little bit more intentionally through your trunk, filling up your cylinder equally on all sides. And then bend one leg, set your foot wide on your mat, and let that leg pass through some inward rotation, and then fan it out to the side. And then bring the opposite leg up, do the same thing, just a single leg wiper. And then we'll go doubles. Let the pelvis rock and twist as much as you like. We'll bring two knees together, let both thigh bones roll inward, take arms over the head, nice big stretch. And then if you like to roll up into a ball to come up to your seat, that's cool. You can lay on your side for a little while longer. There's no rush to go anywhere. I hope you enjoyed this practice. Be sure to let me know in the comments or drop me an email. We will be having class tomorrow on the 17th, Saturday morning at 10. It's going to just be the regular class that we normally have. And then the following week on the 24th, we will still broadcast via Zoom or Facebook. I'm not sure which yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be Zoom. But for those of you that are local, if you want to meet me in the park, we're going to do an outdoor practice. And y'all should have details about that. Thanks for being here. I won't keep you any longer. Have a great weekend. Namaste.